I want to take just a second and talk about the music side of SuperStore. First, our show is called SuperStore, which I hadn't mentioned yet. And it depicts the actions of overzealous employees. Would you wave hello, employees? These are our overzealous employees. And our euphoric shoppers. Euphoric shoppers, would you say hello to the audience? Inside this fictitious SuperStore. And as I was brainstorming ideas for upbeat shows, because I felt like an upbeat show fit the personality of the students that were interested in being a part of the indoor Drumline this year, this one of the SuperStore was one that materialized quickly. And at first, I think my wife thought I was a little crazy. It was like, Jens, I think we should do this show about a store. She's like, sure, John. Because my wife loves me unconditionally, but she loves my ideas very, very conditionally. And I don't know if this one met her criteria for being a good idea. But the more we talked about it, and I started talking about shopping carts and how they could change clothes, and I'm getting ahead of myself, I'll come back to that. It gradually grew on her. And the music side. I knew I wanted to start the show with the battery coming into the store and discovering their drums. And I also wanted the opening of the store to be a big deal, so we needed a fanfare. But we needed a fanfare that was kind of lighthearted. And one of the most famous fanfares in all of music is the Zarathustra fanfare, which is by Richard Strauss, and was made famous by its inclusion in 2001, A Space Odyssey. It's what's playing whenever the gorillas discover fire. And so I thought that was a good fit for the overzealous battery coming in and finding their drums, which they were just really excited about at the show. So we start with Zarathustra. From there, through the next two movements, the second movement's all about just shopping and moving around the store. And I wanted something that was really energetic and frantic sounding, and really pop commercially feeling. And for this movement and the next movement, I went with a tune by a band called the Bare Naked Ladies. And the tune for the second movement is called Shopping, which the title fits well enough. But the music also fits regardless of whether you know the title or not. It's got really catchy synthesizer parts, is upbeat, and it had a lot of material to feature both the keyboards, drum set, and battery. The next movement is our ballad, or as close as we get to a ballad. And during that movement, the shoppers discover clothes and they start changing their costumes a little bit. We needed something a little more laid back. And I went with a tune also by the Bare Naked Ladies called Sell, 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 which again, its title fits, but its music fits as well. It's kind of Latin sounding, and it's got a bossa nova in the drum sets and claves, and so it's like the customers are almost romantically interested in these clothes they have found. They can do a little tango with them. And it also sounds a lot like elevator music. You'll know when we get there, it's very laid back, also poppy and commercially. And then for the final movement of the show, again, this is the one I went back and forth about the most. I wanted something that was conveying the fact the store was about to close and everybody had to get their deals and get out. And I went back and forth between composing something that was original for the show or trying to find more pop music that fit. And I always wanted something really chromatic, and I believe it was Jess who actually said, what if you use Flight of the Bumblebee? And at first I was like, yeah, I don't know. But as I thought about it, we used classical music for the intro. It also made sense to use classical music for the conclusion of the show. And so we used Fly of the Bumblebee, but it's been kind of remixed and set for electronic instruments and drum set, and perfectly fits the customers moving around. So there's some things to listen for as we're going through this musical run of the show. I hope you enjoy the music to SuperStore. You guys can start with Colin.